There we go. And hi, guys. Welcome back to Reads Readers with your host, Clint. And as you can see, I am joined with the lovely Blane Bellamy.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me, Clint.
Yeah, I just went live. Okay. Sorry, he's about to leave. So he was like, if I call, answer, please. Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. I love our
And
partners, right?
yes, gotta love it. And I figured we could start off with you just introducing yourself and doing like a quick pitch of your books for
Sure.
those who may have never heard of you or your books.
That sounds good. Again, thanks so much for having me. My name is Blane Bellamy, everyone. I am an romance writer. I have two books out right now, both of which are very different. The first book I released this March, or it was released in March, it was called Celestial Bodies. It was an romantasy about warring territories and a forbidden romance that develops between the Prince of Lepistra, also known as Julin, Zephyrus, as he falls in love with Dacius Validar, who is from Rugeria. So Lepistra versus Rugeria, and it gets very steamy. But it's more of like a slow burn, more of like a lot of hurt, comfort, and then like very action packed towards like the latter half of the book.
Very.
And then the follow-up book I had, Step in the Zone, which was much more popular. I have learned throughout the way that in the romance world, fantasy does not resonate as strongly as, let's say, contemporary stepbrothers who play hockey. So this is as I mentioned, a stepbrothers romance. They both play hockey. Raphael and Cody absolutely hate each other, and both have a lot of like trauma that they are working through. Raphael more so than Cody, and they soon develop a relationship that is very kinky. It kind of settles into almost like a BDSM light kind of relationship, but it's not kink for kink's sake. There is like a reason behind it that stems from their past. So, enemies to lovers, high heat, heard comfort in that as well, but definitely a little more like, I would say, like on the enemies to lovers front there. And then I'm releasing another one this year. It'll be a follow-up to Step in the Zone. The working title right now is Broken Ice. It will be Asher and Theo's book. So they are characters you met in Step in the Zone if you've read it, and that one will be friends to lovers, which is a lot harder to write than enemies to lovers. um, and a lot of trauma and hurt comfort because I can't have a book without it, apparently.
Apparently. Oh, we love it so much. Okay. The first question I have is what inspired you to write each of these books?
Yeah, I never really was a writer. So I had spent many years being an actor, and I wrote sketch comedy. And so that was really the extent of my writing experience. And I kind of quit doing that in 2018-ish. Um, Maybe even before that. I just got tired and got a job, a full-time job, was just kind of doing my thing. I had tried to be an actor and kind of decided that like I gave it a good go. I wanted things, I wanted health insurance. I didn't want to have to worry about, living paycheck to paycheck. I just wanted a little bit of stability. And then throughout the years, I was realizing I just craved some kind of artistic release. I really still needed something, and it was actually my straight brother who recommended some romantasy novels. And I read them and became completely obsessed and was like, I want to write this, but with gays. Uh, and spent all of 2024 writing Celestial Bodies. And it was basically my version of like of like a Fourth Wing meets like, a Court of Thorns and Roses. I was like, I want this, only gay. And so yeah, that was the impetus behind it was really I just wanted something. I really craved it. And as I was writing it, I got on TikTok, I got on Instagram because I knew I was going to have to promote it somehow and it was going to be through social media. And I started reading all of the contemporary romance that people were recommending, like Wrath and Man On and Finding Delaware, and then I became absolutely obsessed with the Step Brothers trope. It's like one of my faves. So as soon as literally when Celestial Bodies was released, I started writing Step in the Zone. Partly because I just wanted to, and partly because I needed to do something during my first book's like release promo because that is sometimes a nightmare. It's very nerve-wracking, so I needed something to distract me. So that's what inspired both of those books.
Well, that's exciting, and I agree. I love stepbrother tropes. Granted, I think yours is the first one that I've actually liked in an actual book form.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Type
Thank you.
thing. Like I have tried a couple of other stepbrothers romance. Like I tried Wrath, it just was too long. So it's like I didn't really resonate with the characters as easily. So I wasn't like, oh, I have to know what's going on. It turned into a, okay, I'm kind of bored. We're not really doing anything, are we? But that's more of
That's
a me thing. So,
well, that's the big division between some of the books is like some people are like I just couldn't get through it because it's like 5 to 700 pages, and I knew I didn't want mine to be that long. It's only my second book, so how dare I if I were to make something 700 pages long. So it is I think it's a nice solid 330 pages, and that's I feel like my sweet spot.
um, how did you choose your titles, and do they hold any significance to you and to the characters without getting too spoilery?
Yeah, Celestial Bodies is definitely inspired by the characters. The book takes place on a planet called Vexra, and the really unique thing about Vexra is that the sun and moon sit side by side, so they pass each other at dawn and dusk each day. And Julian is very much the moon. He is mysterious. He is very isolated. There's a sense of like I don't want to say there's darkness to him. You know, there he has a dark, hard history, and whereas Dacius, who is a lion shifter, is very much the sun, and so their relationship really maps this kind of visual that really inspired the entire writing of the book. Is really just I one day saw the sun and moon pendant and was like, this to me is kind of what would be a great foundation to my romantasy novel, and so it's called Celestial Bodies, the Black Arts of Vexra. And Vexra is the planet, the Black Arts. It's that's a little deeper into the book. I don't want to give too much
Mhm.
away, but that's really where the title came from. Step in the Zone. I wanted Step because Step Brothers, so Step had to be in there, and it was originally going to be called Step in the Crease, which I thought was very naughty and bawdy. And that's actually a hockey term, step in the crease. It's like when you go into like the goalie's kind of like border, like there, that's the
Mhm.
crease in between like the, I don't even, you can tell I had to do a lot of research with hockey because it's definitely not like spilling off the tongue with any sort of ease, but it's actually a term in hockey land. But I told this to a few people and they're like, I don't understand that. I watch hockey. I've never heard that. So zone is really just like it's part hockey, but also like they are within each other's zones. You know, they're very
Mhm.
much like invading each other's spaces in the beginning of the book, and so that's where Step in the Zone comes from.
See, because I said the title out loud to my husband, now just because the way he responded every time I say the title, Step in the Zone, I automatically go auto zone because he
Yes.
did. And I'm like, why did you do that? But, and we have a
No,
few.
you're not the first. Another friend of mine did that. I almost changed the title because she was like, now the AutoZone song is stuck in my head. I was like, I can't have that.
We have a few comments.
Oh, cool.
Hi, Dana. Dana says she loves hearing the meanings behind the titles.
Thank you.
And okay, Step in the
I
Crease.
know.
And
Very,
hi,
very.
Karina.
Oh, hi,
Both
everybody.
Both Dana and Karina are two of the three co-hosts for the Swoony Readers
Oh,
book club, where
nice.
they read romance every month, and they're usually the ones that I get a lot of my straight romance recs from, and
Oh,
then I
wonderful.
send them the gay recs. So,
Nice, nice.
um, okay, without spoiling anything, what do you hope your readers will take away from reading each of your books?
There's a common theme in both books, and I think this will be a common theme in all of my books, is really major transformation, meaning transformation for the better. I write broken people. I write people who are suffering and who need to be kind of mended. But the mending doesn't just come from the romance. Both Julian and Raphael needed healing, but it didn't come just from because they met their other person. Like healing also comes from self-healing and going through the work and really evaluating. It can't be completely dependent on another individual's care. It must be done through your own acts of self-care, really. And so that is the theme in both of the books, is that Julian and Raphael, they get there. And it's a miracle they meet the people they meet, because who knows what could have happened to them had they not met their soulmates. But it isn't all their soulmates that gets them there. It is really like the bravery, the courage it takes to look within and to recognize that there's just a lot that needs mending, and they do the work to do that. So that is really a common theme, not only in this book, in these books that I have out, but probably will be a common theme in most of my books, because that is a big theme of my own journey as a queer man in this world.
Mhm. Agreed. And I like where Dana was like, heavy on the self-healing. It's so important.
Yes,
It
yes.
is. And that is something that I noticed while reading the books, is they both went through all four characters went through their own journeys separate from just the relationships itself. You get it. It's very prevalent, noticed in Celestial Bodies towards the end.
Hmm.
Well, like when the climax happens, I don't want to give too much away, because when all of that happens, it comes out of nowhere, and you guys need to enjoy the ride as it goes along. But everything that goes from that to, without spoiling, the ink
Yeah.
area,
Yes,
is a
yes.
lot of self-healing for Julian, in
Yeah,
the sense of he didn't realize he could do the things he could.
precisely. Julian didn't realize he could do the things he did until he did them and actually became not only his own hero, but also Dacius's hero in a way.
Mhm. And then you've got Raphael. Another poignant moment is there's a conversation between him and his dad that was needed for
Yes,
his self-healing.
exactly,
So, as
exactly.
examples, without trying to get too spoilery here.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is there anything the readers might not know about the books that you would like to share? Like if there's anything like outside of what's in the book itself?
Oh, goodness.
I know some authors have little bit of tidbits about them.
Um, well, so Celestial Bodies was very much like Julian's story is very much inspired by my own story, in many different ways. So, and what's really interesting, I feel like with each book, I kind of explore, and this is going to sound so weird, so I'm just going to preface it right now. I explore aspects of myself and my life. Step in the Zone, their backstories are essentially my parents' backstories. Like Cody's backstory is my mother's backstory, and Raphael's backstory is a version of my father's backstory. So, in this weird way, it's like each book I've processed some aspect of my life. Um, and it sounds super bizarre because Step in the Zone is super spicy, and one would be like, "That's gross," but it really is just like, it's not that they are my parents. It's much more that it's like kind of like taking the narrative and reprocessing it in this new way to and because it just needed to happen for me. It's like
Mhm.
because by doing it I really sympathized with Cody and Raphael, and I think that level of sympathy was needed for my parents as well. It's like to understand where a lot of things came from for them, and to really truly get that and really say like that had to have been horrendous, and no wonder it impacted your life, and so
Mhm.
it was very healing to write it from that aspect. So that's just a little, something a little psychological and deeper. But what's something else that's really funny is that I think one of the scenes that I hear about a lot, especially in Step in the Zone, is the bicycle scene. You'll see that if you read it, like there is a bicycle scene with Raphael. It's funny. And it's meant to be. There's a lot of things in Step in the Zone that are meant to be funny that some people think I've inadvertently made funny, and it's always intentional because life, through all of its shittiness, is always funny at the same time. But that scene was the last scene I wrote. It wasn't in the original draft. It wasn't in many drafts, all the way up until almost release. It was really a beta reader who had actually recommended that a much later scene could be too triggering for people.
Mm.
Because it involved drunk driving. Raphael has addiction issues, especially
Mhm.
alcohol abuse. He has alcohol abuse issues. And there was in the first draft there was a drunk driving scene, and a beta reader had mentioned to me that like drunk driving can be like an automatic DNF for some people. Some folks, no matter how wounded the individual is, that can be a very unforgivable offense. And I understood that, and there's a lot of truth to that. And so I removed that and kind of changed the ending pretty drastically. And then kind of in moving backwards, or moving forwards, to have to change all the other pieces that make up the house that is a story, I had to change a middle scene, and that's where the bicycle scene came in. And I am so grateful for my beta reader for saying that, because the bicycle scene would have never come if I hadn't had that change in a very, very distant part of the book, all the way towards the end.
And that is actually one of those scenes that I felt was kind of needed in that moment to really like jar at least Raphael in that moment. Like
Yes.
he needed that kind of a moment. So that is perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we have a couple of comments on what you've been saying. Dana
Cool.
says, "That's really beautiful. I can only imagine how cathartic it can be to pull from your own personal experiences and writing your own story." Excuse me. I'm in awe of anyone who can sit and write a book. Agreed. And Karina says it's definitely nice getting some humor woven in stories dealing with heavier topics.
Yeah, I always try to have humor in there. It can't all be doom and gloom. Even in like somebody's worst day, there's something funny. You know what I mean? It's like you almost
Mhm.
have to laugh at how absurd life is sometimes. And I really try to put that in all of my books.
And like we've been saying, I know you and I have discussed it with Step in the Zone. I feel like for those who want to get into dark romance, but don't want to dive into an actual dark romance book just yet because they're afraid that it might be too much,
Yeah.
this is a good like stepping stone because you do deal with the dark romance topics
Hmm. Hmm.
just in a lighter way. So it's like it is a really good stepping stone.
Yeah, somebody said, I think on TikTok, it's diet dark, and
Yeah.
that's really true. It is like it's diet dark. It's not. Because it was the ARC readers who actually mentioned that I should label it as a dark romance, and I didn't think it was a dark romance because I've read some dark romances. And they were like, no, well, like the threshold for dark romance can be different depending on the individual, so it might just be
Mhm.
good as a warning, and so that's why I did that for sure. It's like it is a nice in between.
Okay. Okay, if your books were made into a film or a show, what parts of the books do you think would be essential that you would have to be preserved into the show or film?
Oh my
that if they,
goodness.
like, cut it, it would change the whole story.
Oh my. So in Celestial Bodies, the first time Julian manifests his power, and the way in which it happens must be in the book. It's kind of it's everything about what that whole book is about. You know what I mean? And so, like, if someone were to cut that out or change it, I would, as an author, I would scream from the rooftop saying that this is bullshit. I don't support this film. So that is like that moment when he first truly manifests, and it's like it's a floating moment. So Julian can wield wind, and it's like him and Dacius literally levitate in the moment, and so like that must happen in a film.
Yes.
um
Yes, yes,
Goodness.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay. And then Raphael and Cody, I don't know, I mean, I think the bicycle scene needs to be in there because it's pretty hilarious, but what else? I think maybe you know what, the the scene where Cody wakes up Raphael from a dream. The first time,
Yes.
like, Raphael's having the nightmare about the death of his brother Maddie, um, and Cody is the one who walks in and kind of wakes him up and comforts him. And in that moment, Raphael is incredibly embarrassed. He feels exposed. He feels vulnerable, and it's the first time anyone has ever done that. He didn't know he was making audible sounds during the nightmares. He has it all the time, but he didn't know that people could hear him. He didn't know that it was actually something that could be heard in other rooms. And the fact that Cody heard and came to him does a lot to him. Um, he's angry because he's mad at Cody, but it's also like he's angry, like, why hasn't anyone else, my parents? Like,
Mhm.
it's a huge, and I think it's a big turning point in Raphael's psyche, and so that would have to be there too.
Agreed. Um, Karina says Diet Dark is perfect. Um, Laughter really can be the silver lining in someone's day or life, and we love that.
Mhm.
And love this question. Thank you, Dana. We know as readers there are certain scenes that are non-negotiable for adaptations.
Exactly.
And we've
It's
all seen the adaptations that have taken out the pivotal scenes and we're like, this, nope, this is not,
yeah,
nope, we
can't get
don't
behind
support.
this anymore.
Okay, speaking of celestial bodies, I have a slight fun one. Would you rather be one of the shapeshifters, like Dacius, or would you want to be more one of the wind users? Not necessarily have to live in those
Right, right.
specific realms. I was trying to take that part out of it, but like the abilities itself.
Oh, wow, that is actually a hard question. Um, I think I'd wanna be a shapeshifter.
And what
Yeah.
would you turn into?
Mm, I'd probably turn into a wolf. There will be probably paranormal romance from me down the line, just because,
And
like,
I'm all
I
here
love
for
that.
it.
I love all of that. I love that. So, yeah. Although it would have been a real toss-up because, like, the idea of being able to kind of just, like, knock things over with wind and, like, have that, like, the visual of, like, being able to push wind boulders, like, that's really cool too. But, yeah, I think I would need to be, like, a wolf shifter for sure.
Karina, yes, we love a wolf.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite series of all time is Green Creek, where I
Yeah.
have almost 6 complete sets of it. So,
Nice.
um, okay, so when writing, do you use something more like a functional outline? Are you more chaotic, or do you do like some type of mixture of everything?
I I am as chaotic as it comes. I sit down and just write, and whatever comes out, which usually often leads to extensive editing at the end, but that's typically how I work. The only thing I ever outlined was the magic system in Celestial Bodies, just as like kind of like my lighthouse in the storm of like, okay, no matter what, I need to make sure I remember these rules of magic. But other than that, it's usually there's an idea that creates the inspiration for it, and then not even full scenes, but visuals of scenes that I want to include, and somehow I get there. So no, there's usually I'm very much a pantster. They say people are either plotsters, meaning they really plot out outlines, or they just write by the seat of their pants, and I'm definitely the latter.
And I can see that. But we love chaos here. We're all about chaotic everything.
Yes.
Um, how long does it typically take you to write one of the books from the starting idea to actually publishing it?
Goodness. So both of the books were actually very different in terms of the length of time. I started writing Celestial Bodies in probably February of 2024, and it didn't come out until March of 2025. I started writing Step in the Zone in March of 2025, and it was out by the end of May 2025. So that is very different in terms of like time frame. I think Celestial Bodies was the first. It was very, very rough. Um, it needed a lot of work. I also I also hired a developmental editor for that, and so that takes a little more time.
Mhm.
Somebody who had experience in the romantasy space. So it took a month to get their feedback and then to make all of the edits based on that. Whereas with Step in the Zone, I had an editor, but I didn't have a developmental editor. I had by at that point I had friends who were willing to alpha and beta read for me, and so like the process, I didn't need to learn everything, you know. So the second time
Mhm.
was just like much easier.
Um, I have a few comments. Hey, Drew. We saw Karina's. Dana says yes, alpha romances. Being a panster is such a flex, honestly.
I
It
can't write
is.
any other way.
Definitely love some chaos. I can barely finish my own sentences, so the ability to write a whole book like that is crazy cool.
I don't think I could follow an outline if I tried. Because I would never follow it. You know what I mean? It's so funny. I would never be able to adhere to my outline.
I mean, those of us who make our TBRs and we never stick with our TBRs, so I can completely understand from that kind of an aspect.
Yeah.
Because all of us on here have set really big TBRs, and I think we're 3 days into the month, we're like, nope, throw that away. We're gonna do this.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Very much a mood reader, very much a mood writer.
Um, what does your research slash concept planning for your writing process kind of look like?
For celestial bodies, it was fairly extensive. I did a lot of research on tectonic plates because it is the vibration of the tectonic plates that actually induces manifestation of magic. So I actually did, I would say, about a full 3 to 4 weeks of research with all things like planetary movements in terms of like tectonic plate movement, vibrational forces, and like anything that it induces, volcanic disruptions, wind, how wind travels, how hard wind can get, how powerful it can get. Also had to do a lot of research on lions and learn about like what their social patterns are like. How do they express love? Like things like that. So that was pretty extensive. With Step in the Zone, I did a lot of research on hockey, but it still wasn't enough. My research wasn't good enough. And I actually had a friend who plays hockey who read it and gave me a lot of feedback. So that was really helpful. Step in the Zone was probably the most chaotic and panster book I created, maybe even ever. The one I'm writing right now is nowhere near as chaotic as the way Step in the Zone was. So it's like there was almost no preparation other than watching like a bunch of hockey YouTube videos and like Googling like what kind of hockey, you know, like Googling hockey rules, you know? Um, yeah, yeah. Whereas like Celestial Bodies required a lot of kind of research and understanding things just so I wasn't being dumb from a scientific standpoint.
But being a little bit chaotic with Step in the Zone kind of makes sense for the characters. And
Yes.
especially if you're saying the next one, you're not getting as chaotic with it, makes sense from what we know of those characters going forward. So,
Yeah.
especially if you're doing a friends to lovers, the enemies to lovers is a little bit more of a chaotic trope, anyways. So, it kind of makes sense with a writing standpoint.
Yeah. 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 The book's theme probably it impacts the emotional aspect of myself during the writing.
Um, Dana says the TBR example is so real.
We all have one
Um,
that's a mile and a half long and never get to any of the books on it.
I do believe Dana, Karina, and we set up potential TBRs. These are like the 30 books we're interested in, so we're gonna mood read from this,
Yes.
and then we have our set stack of these are book club books and read-alongs that we have to get done this month.
Right, right.
We'll throw
Yeah.
in the others where we can.
The only time I can adhere to my own TBR is when it's an arc, and I'm like, I must read this for somebody at this time.
I typically forget about some of my arcs sometimes because if they're a digital arc and I don't physically see it in front of me, I'll go like a week later and be like, oh crap, I need to get back to reading this. Let me read this real fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
The commitment to research is amazing. Different levels to the TBR. Preach about the TBR. I have 25 on the list for Camp Nightmare, and I've only read 4 of them.
Oh, goodness,
I
yeah.
feel you there, Drew, for this month. Exactly. The TBR hopeful slash possibilities are ever growing. Um, Actually, we have discussed that question, so we'll skip that one. When writing, do you have a specific place you prefer to write? And also, when you write, do you have like an item, a food, a drink, or something that you have to have?
Yes, I it depends on the time of day. I like writing earlier, like early in the morning, just because my brain is a little more is just sharper, especially when there's a nice big iced coffee next to me. So my favorite place to write is actually this cafe near me called the Muse Cafe. I go there almost every day that I'm remote from my day job, so that I can like right before my actual day job starts, so I get there super early, write a ton, and then like kind of just like flow right into the day job aspect. And yeah, I usually have like copious amounts of iced coffee, buckets of it.
Um, we've actually discussed a couple of these mixed in with the past, which I thought was going to happen. Okay. Do you have any authors or books that inspired you on your journey of writing the books?
Definitely. So when I was first writing Celestial Bodies, A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows was a really big inspiration for me. I really liked that book. I liked how Foz handled the world building aspect. I liked that they weren't afraid to get dark very quickly. Um, and the language was elevated, but it never felt like somebody was trying to be the smartest kid in AP English, if you know what I mean.
Mhm.
Sometimes I read books like that where it actually interrupts the flow of the book. It's like it didn't do that. Like their language was very elevated and it was beautiful in terms of its flow and its style and how it worked. And so that's more fantasy. And that was a huge inspiration for me while writing Celestial Bodies. And when it comes to contemporary romance, Rebecca Raith is, I would say, my biggest inspiration. Rebecca Raith is not only just like a wonderful person, but she writes hands down the best spice, especially Spice I've ever read. Period. Like if you want the hottest book of your life, like anything in the Forbidden Goals series is going to satisfy your need because I think I loved Head in the Game. I love Man On. I can't wait to read more because I think she never sacrifices plot for spice, by the way. Like the plots are are always substantial. The characters have backstories. They are emotional. Um, and the her spice is always just I'm just always like I've recommended it to a few gay men, and all of us are always just like, damn, this girl's talking to people. This
Which
girl knows men. Like she knows gay men because it's like just that good. It's just that good.
which is really high praise, especially when it comes from us. And we're like, we've had many discussion about own voices, which we'll get into here in a little bit, about like the differences between reading something a woman has written compared to a man who's done the acts. So
Yeah.
hearing something like that, I'm like, and that author is moving up on my TBR.
Yeah, yeah. And I know for a fact Rebecca Raith has sensitivity readers, so there is always a gay man who's there saying whether or not these things are like accurate or possible and things like that. So yeah, I don't even know if she would need one anymore just because like she writes it so well now. I'm like, do you even need like please, it's a gift. I'll read it. I'll be your sensitivity reader. But yeah, yeah, it's really yeah, she's really good.
Dana says the Muse Cafe is so fitting for being a creative place for you. And yes to the iced coffee. I have mine right next to me as I'm watching.
I know, I know. Oh gosh, it's my favorite.
Drew. Clint said, there's spice, sign me up.
Yeah.
um, so do you have any advice that you would give future authors as an indie author yourself?
I Number one, just do it. I think the idea of writing a book sounds far more intimidating and complicated than it actually is. Writing it is just sit down and do it. Force yourself to write it. Set time in your day to do it. The publishing, like if you're going to indie publish and you're going to go through like Amazon KDP, it's actually far simpler than you can imagine. It was actually far easier to navigate that process than many other processes throughout this indie publishing journey. So the act of being able to write your book and put it out into the world is actually quite accessible now because of like Amazon KDP. So I mean, for better or worse, like I will say that Amazon has at least done that for indie authors. So I know we could go on and on about that, but that
Yeah,
is one thing I feel like they've really given a platform to is indie authors being able to get their work out there. I think the other thing I would recommend, and this is different for every individual, but I think something that helped me immensely when I was releasing both my books was that before I did that, about like 6 months or so before, I started posting pretty routinely on Instagram and TikTok. And because of that, I developed a following. And because of that, I had people who were already interested in my work and who were willing to sign up for my arcs, who were eager to be beta readers. Like I
hmm,
developed friendships, I developed a community. And that's the positive side, I would say, of, social media, especially bookish social media.
hmm.
I know it can get toxic, but like you can pierce through the toxicity and find the good folks out there. And so by the time I was releasing Step in the Zone, the second book, I had such a network that was there for me and ready to just champion this book. And it's all because I just developed these relationships on social media. So I do recommend doing that. I think it can be very helpful. Be building the network that will lift you once you decide to actually release your book.
That's actually really good advice. As someone, I have ideas for books, and I have one that I'm kind of mulling over and contemplating writing that is very Gilmore Girls inspired, but make it Mel Mel.
Yes, I love it. Yes, please.
And like, because in my head, I'm taking Rory and her three love interests and making them three separate like books. But
Nice.
I was like, so you're right about the whole it's intimidating the thought of actually sitting down and writing it. I just keep coming up with more ideas and adding that to the flow so that when I finally get the courage myself to sit down and start writing, I have everything sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So I get that. Um, I found this question, I thought it was kind of interesting. So it says, Many writers describe the strange experience of rereading their works in the future. What aspects of your books you think might surprise you in the future on a reread, like 10 years down the line?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure I will be so mortified by some of my early writing as I progress and develop as a writer. You know, I will probably go back and always be surprised that I wrote celestial bodies in the third person singular because I just love writing first person so much now that
Mhm.
I'll probably always go back to that and be like, God, if you'd only just read some first person sooner, then like you could have gone so much deeper with Julian and Dacius because you get to sink into the characters when you're writing first person. So I will probably always go back and be surprised by that. I might even do a rewrite in the future when I write part two of Celestial Bodies of like the entire thing in first person if I had the time, just because I really do like first person a lot. But
That
we'll
would be
see.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, we love a supportive and healthy community.
Hmm.
Everyone here is good people, and I call them family members too.
Oh, yes.
The book community definitely has its faults, but it's nice hearing that your people showed up for you. Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely am very lucky. I met really good people as I posted and made connections with folks. So I am fortunate.
I know I've been following you on TikTok for a long time, and I've been every time you recommend a book, it's most of the time, most of them have gone on to a wish list of like, I will get to these when I have a moment.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Is there a genre or format you haven't tried yet that you would love to try writing in?
Omegaverse, 100%. I am going to read an Omegaverse book. I can't wait for it. I love it. Probably a shifter Omegaverse because I just love knots. I love heats. I think Fated Mates is like beautiful because it takes away all the complications of, the whole like, what do I say? How much of a, how
Mhm.
that whole mental aspect so you can focus on other things in the narrative. But yeah, I love Omegaverse and Mpreg. I'm obsessed with it, so I can't wait to write that.
As Dana's going, yes, Omegaverse.
It's my comfort read. It's my go-to now. In between like really like angsty books, I'm like, I need to get a Ro Horvat novel in my system now.
We've discussed what you're working on next, so we'll skip that question. Okay, any authors or books that you think other readers need to check out?
Ah, I think that Jonathan Hawker is somebody to definitely look out for. He writes romantasy, and I love both of his books. They're reimaginings of King Arthur and set in kind of like a dystopian future. So Jonathan Hawker's first two books, it is a series. They're beautiful. I love it. Awakening in Sapphire and then Veiled in Argent. Those are the first two books. Ro Horvat, honestly, if you haven't read Ro Horvat, he writes Omegaverse and he's phenomenal. I love his books. They're always it doesn't matter how like there was one that I read recently, it was like about alien surrogacy. And I just loved it. And somehow in these very in their and he's amazing at world building, but somehow in these incredible worlds that he creates, he still finds like the really sweet, cute aspects of love that just like are like that give you those feelings. So definitely Ro Horvat as well. Rebecca Wraith, as I mentioned. I'm sure everyone's like putting her books on their list right now. And then let me think. Let me think. I think that's it for now. If anyone else comes into my brain, I will definitely scream it out before we get off.
Well, I know we'll be getting to like own voices questions here in a second, but
Oh yes,
that
yeah.
way we can talk more about that. Um, are you currently reading anything?
I am. I'm actually reading an Omegaverse. It's an MMM Omegaverse where a beta, an alpha, and an omega are all fated mates. So they're in this triad, um, set in this like kind of like it's contemporary, but the shifters live separate from the worlds of us. You know what I mean? Like it's next to us. It's almost like the Amish where it's like they're there, but like not, so like
Yeah.
they have their own little space. So I'm reading that right now and I'm enjoying it. It's cool. I forget the name of it though. It's Winter and His Wolves, I think. It's written by Chris Storm.
Is it in the same? No, that's a different author. Never mind. Because I just heard your video earlier where you were talking about
Oh, Bro and the Beast. Yeah, I just
Bro and the
finished
Beast.
that. Yeah, that was also really cute. Bro and the Beast, separate book, same Omegaverse kind of universe. Yeah.
Karina, the Amish.
I
Okay,
grew up
now
in
I.
Pennsylvania, so the Amish are always like a gold standard of me of like living in a society but not being a part of it whatsoever, you know?
Mhm. Okay, I came up with two own voices kind of
Nice.
conversations that we could have. Um,
Nice.
as an own voices author yourself in romance, can you describe the importance of reading and uplifting own voices in this genre?
Yes, I think it is important to read own voice authors in romance. And the reason I say this is not just because we are gay and it's gay romance, but you do get a different aspect of that kind of love affair. And I believe that I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out how to articulate this. One of my beta readers while they were reading Step in the Zone actually mentioned to me that the spice I wrote in my book was very much not written for the female gaze. And she had found that very, very refreshing. And I didn't even realize that wasn't even intentional, and I want women to read my books. And it's not even like I was like, I'm going to make this as whatever I possibly can. But it's just like, that's my life. Like, that's what I live. And so, like,
Mhm.
it can't help. Like, I think an own voice author can't help but write in a way that's distinctly own voice and unique. And I do think when you read the different authors writing romance, you will see the subtle differences in that. And I think people are seeing that with Step in the Zone. They're like, I can totally tell that this was written by a guy. And it's interesting to hear that because it's not something I consciously do. It's just that I am that. And so it happens.
I will completely agree with that. You can usually tell the difference. Just, I instantly knew reading Step in the Zone. This is why I use Step in the Zone now on a prime example of why I started my whole new project of the Romance Talk, of uplifting own voices and stuff like that in this community, is because you're getting a different perspective, because you can authentically feel that this is very, where the gay yearning feels masculine, and
Mhm,
it's like nobody is, it's not getting feminized in a way that I've
mhm,
noticed a lot of romances for some reason were feminized, and not always in the most positive of lights.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
So reading something so authentically male kind of changes your viewpoint on it and
mhm.
makes it more realistic in a way sometimes. Not
Yeah.
saying the others can't be realistic, because I've read some authors that I'm like, oh my God, how? I.e., Emily Rath being one.
Yeah.
How, when you got to the male scenes, how do you, what? This still feels authentically male too, because
Yes.
it's just so good.
Yes.
But it's
Yeah.
like reading books by men for men, kind of, it just changes your mind a little bit when you're reading and you're like, "Oh, I didn't think of it that way."
Right, right. And I don't even like intentionally write for anybody. You
Well,
know what I
yeah.
mean? It's much more of a uh, yeah, it's just lived experience. It's like that is what yearning is inside of me, inside of the men that
Mhm.
I know, and how love is approached. So yeah, it's very fascinating to see the different aspects of it. Yeah.
We have the feedback from your beta readers is amazing. Not written for the female gaze is perfection. Representation matters, and own voices stories are very important. And then Drew says for romance novels, he loves Timothy Janovsky, who is a really good author. He read You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince by him.
Okay.
I've read almost everything of his except for two, I think. Three,
Yeah.
because his newest one just came out, so I'm behind a little bit. But
Yeah.
and then speaking of own voice authors, is there any own voice authors that you think more people need to check out?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Jonathan Hawker is one. Um, uh, Rain and D.W. Michaels is another one. They're fantastic. I forget the names of their books that came out right now. I will send it to you so that we can post it later. But Lance Lansdale is really amazing. I love his stuff. And I'm trying to think of others. Chris Storm, that I'm reading right now, is fantastic. Devin McCormick is amazing. I really like Devin McCormick. And yeah, those are some of them. Ben Alderson, if you're looking for like romantasy, I really
Hmm.
enjoy Ben Alderson. Um,
I've read one of his and it was really good.
yeah, I read King of the Immortal Tithe, and I know somebody who read the third book in that series. They actually just reached out to me last night and they were like, I'm obsessed. And so, like, yeah, he's definitely one to check out as well. Uh, yeah, yeah. Um, those are some of the ones that come to my head right now. I should have had a list with me. I feel so bad. Bjorn Wild makes some really amazing work. I really
Hmm.
like his stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Matter of fact, every author you're mentioning, I have on a list
Do you? Oh,
already
cool.
of
Yeah.
ones to check out. And I probably got them from you too. Who knows?
Lance Lansdale and Bjorn have books coming out that look so fucking good and just so spicy and naughty. I'm
I
so
mean,
excited.
Lance's titles, I have like most of his books on a wish list of just it's based on the title. F me, daddy.
I know, I know.
I'm like, yes, please. Yes, please give it to me now. These
The
titles
next
just
the next one is called Trailer Park Twank, and I cannot wait because I am from the backwoods of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am so I'm like so attracted to trashy men. You know, it's just like my upbringing. So
listen, I'm from small towns in Oklahoma, raised by rednecks. I completely understand. Give me that small town hick, white trash. Oh, I'm here for it.
I'm so here for it. Yeah. That's why I loved Garen Park so much by Nordic Knight. I was just like, these are my boys.
I have that on the list because I really want to check that series out. It sounds so good.
Yeah, she's a good one too.
Um, oop, attention grabbing titles, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Blaine said, "My body is ready." But those were all the questions I had. Does anybody else that's here have a question that you would like to ask while we're here? But at first, I just want to thank you, Blaine, for joining. This was so much fun.
Thank you for
And
having me. I had a blast. It was a pleasure. And so, yeah, I'll come back anytime.
I love talking books. I love being able to get more insight with an author. I've I've interviewed a few in the past when I did a readathon where we always had our group books author present. This is my
Hmm.
first time ever interviewing someone by myself that wasn't just like a single book focused.
Wow. Well,
So I want,
you did a fabulous job. I feel
well,
like
thank you.
you're like a pro. I would have never known this was your first time doing a single interview.
Well, thank you. But but yeah, I was like, with this whole project, I like the idea of bringing on own voice authors that are able to talk about it from their perspective and stuff, because I do realize a lot of own voice male authors don't get promoted a lot in
Hmm.
the space, which
Hmm.
is why I'm doing all of these new things so I can be one introduced to them
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And
I have another own voice author to recommend. I'm sorry, it just hit me. Grayson Vale. He's also wonderful. His books are fantastic.
added to the list.
Yeah, sorry. I just had to. I had to. I'm so sorry. I had to shout out.
But yeah, I just like this idea, and I am so happy that you were my first author for this
I'm
new
honored.
way
Thank
of
you
doing
for
things.
having me. I really appreciate it.
I mean, like I said, I am using Step in the Zone as the blueprint of like why this is important.
Thank you. That means the world to me. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. The
And
fact that
I,
the book has resonated with you, it
mhm.
means so much to me as a writer. So thank you so much.
I'm like, I'm patiently waiting on the next one for this, and I'm patiently waiting for Celestial Bodies. I might not be patiently as well with Celestial as I am the other, but just because the way that that ended, and I'm like, I need more Julian and Dacius
Yeah.
and Mel. I need more Dacius. Ugh.
Uh, I know. He's hot. He's very hot. He's definitely like book boyfriend for the win. Big line shifter,
Mm.
muscular, strawberry blonde hair. I was like, God damn.
I think he's going. I think he's the first non-werewolf shifter that has been like hide higher up on book boyfriend list that
Yeah.
wasn't that is in a queer shifter romance, and I'm just like, do I have a
Yeah.
thing for lion shifters now?
I feel like if there was ever going to be a type of
Mm,
shifter, it'd be a lion one that did it. If they were going to be like on par with a wolf. That's why I
hmm.
was like, I didn't want it to be a wolf. Just because that's done a lot, but next time it's definitely going to be a wolf because of all the things I mentioned about my obsession with Omegaverse. But like, uh, yeah, the lions are just hot. Yeah.
I mean, and I also love the fact that in celestial bodies, when you talk about the different shifters, like they're not all the same thing, and they come from the same family.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
but it also is almost foreshadowing a little bit to that character's points of view, which when I found out that the character I hated anyways, what his shift was, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Exactly, exactly. I don't know if it's in the original if it's in the final version, but Susie, who is one of my like favorite characters I've ever
Love
written.
her.
Susie's a badass in Celestial Bodies, and she's Julian's good friend. And she actually, I think, and I don't remember if it ended up in the final draft, but there's a line where she was just like, one's animal really is revealing of their character, isn't it? Or something to that effect
Mm.
whenever she found out what Farian's animal form is.
Um, we have a few
Oh,
comments.
cool.
Karina says this was so much fun. So great meeting you, Blaine, and hearing about your stories.
Likewise, thank you.
Dana says, I've enjoyed this interview so much. You did. Aw, thank you, Dana.
Yes, you
And
did.
Blaine, it was awesome hearing all your thoughts.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, True. We'll have to rewatch after reading one of the books. And for Karina and Dana, I suggest Step in the Zone. I think you guys would love that a lot. Just going in, knowing y'all's tastes. And then Drew, I think you should start with Celestial Bodies, just based on y'all's tastes. Because I know Drew likes a little bit like some of the books he likes. It's more of slow burny, not as spicy.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it's
I
definitely a
know
slow burn in Celestial Bodies.
And I know Dana and Karina are all about that spice. Definitely go get that spice. Can't wait to pick up one of your stories. Clint being patient, unheard of. I mean, it is me. But perfect. Thank you. And I did see something earlier on Instagram about Step in the Zone. Isn't it part of a
Oh,
certain thing?
yes. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. So if you go to Blane Bellamy's thing, like my Instagram or my TikTok, anything has my link
Which is
tree. You
all
will
linked
find it.
down below.
Oh, it is. Oh, thank you. There is it's called a Smut Fest book promo. So it's a part Step in the Zone is a part of like a whole host of different books that have like kind of self-selected into this promo. And most of us, I think, have discounted our book. So my ebook right now is $1.99. So it's gonna be a buck 99 for like the next 5 days as part of this promo. So definitely like get it while it's hot. Because after that, it's probably going to go back up to 3.99.
To share
Oh, there you
the
go. Cool, cool.
post. That way they can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, and on my link tree, you'll see there's like a million erotica or just spicy romance books there. I would classify mine as like in the spicy romance, but like there's so much going on there. It's a really good promo.
Yeah, I was like, as we're talking about, you should totally go run and get that book. It's discounted.
Yeah. So I did it for the promo and also as kind of like a Pride Month sale. So yeah, definitely check it out.
I mean, it's definitely worth it, girls. Definitely. Oh, and
Thank you.
Karina, love it. Love the sound of Smutfest. Me too. I was like, I had already planned on going to that link later and seeing if there's anything else I need.
Somebody was like, "Is this a convention? Is this a new thing?" I was like, "Oh, I wish." I'm like, "Somebody needs to make Smutfest, and we'll all go to Smutfest for some year."
Hello? Bring all the best smutty authors into one spot.
Mhm.
Ugh, be
Absolutely.
amazing. Um, yes, Smutfest. Running. But
Yes.
yes, thank you to everybody who joined us
Thank you, thank
and had
you.
the conversation. Thank you again to Blaine for joining. This was
Oh,
so much fun.
thank you.
Um, Again, I have all of Blaine's informations linked down below. You have his TikTok, his Instagram, and I do believe his website is also linked down below if y'all need more information about his books. Definitely go check them out. Both are going to be on my faves of the year list.
Thank
I
you.
I do believe Celestial Bodies might be my favorite of the second half of the year so far. So loving that.
Thank you. Oh,
Um,
I appreciate that.
just mm, there's a lot that happens in that just like my brain is like, this is everything I love in a book. Give me
Oh,
more.
oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
But but yeah, all of his stuff is linked down below. Everybody go check him out. Go follow. His TikToks are amazing, especially when he's discussing books.
Thank
Definitely
you.
go check all that out. Um Also, if y'all like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new, hit that subscribe. And then we'll just leave it off with the whole everybody embrace your inner rainbow, take care of your mental health, hydrate or mummify. And until next time, I hope you guys have a fabulously gay day, month, year, minute,
Yes.
whatever it is for you guys. And happy Pride. Until next time,
Yes.
bye.
Bye. Happy Pride. Thank you, Clint.
Thank you. And